Today we'll be learning about quadratic equations, section 4-5 in your book. The zero product property states that if A times B equals 0, then either A equals 0 or B equals 0. So if we look at this problem here, if we want to find the solutions, we're going to begin by factoring this problem by saying the factors of 6 that make -5 is -3 and -2, so that it factors as x minus 3, x minus 2 equals 0. Using the zero product property, we state that either x minus 3 equals 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. So that either x equals 3 or x equals 2. So let's look at a problem. This problem, when you're solving by factoring, you want to get it equal to 0. So we're going to begin this problem by adding 2x to both sides. And we get 5x squared plus 32x plus 14 equals 2. And then subtract 2 so that we end up with 5x squared plus 32x plus 12 equals 0. Then using factoring, we're going to do, say, 5 times 2, so that we get x squared plus 32x plus 60 equals 0. So then factors of 60 that make 32 is 2 times 30. So it factors as x plus 2 and x plus 30. Then we need to turn around and divide by 5, so that now we have 5x plus 2 equals 0, or x plus 6 equals 0. Solve this one by subtracting 2. 5x equals -2. Divide by 5. And x equals -2/5. On this one, subtract 6. And x equals -6. Here's another one. Same thing. We want to get this problem equal to 0, so we're going to start by adding x, so that we get 4x squared minus 13x plus 7 equals 4. Then subtract 4, so that we get 4x squared minus 13x plus 3 equals 0. Once again, multiply 4 times 3, so that we get x squared minus 13x plus 12 equals 0. Factors of 12 that make -13 is -1 times -12, -1 plus -12. So it factors as x minus 1 and x minus 12 equals 0. Then we need to divide by 4, so that we get x minus 1 equals 0. Oh, let's go back up here. This isn't 4, that should be x minus 1. So we get 4x minus 1 equals 0. Add 1. 4x equals 1. Divide by 4, and x equals 1/4. And over here, this would become x minus 3 equals 0. Add 3, and x equals 3. Remember, if you have any questions about any of these problems, write them down as I'm going along, and I will be happy to answer them in class. Alright, here's another simple factoring. Here's a simple factoring problem. So what I would like for you to do is to pause this, try this problem on your own, see if you can factor it out and come up with the two solutions. And then I'll go ahead and put the answers up. You can replay and see if you are correct. The answers to this problem, when you factor the factors of negative 24 that make 2, would be 6 times negative 4 and 6 plus negative 4. So it should factor as x plus 6 and x minus 4 equals 0, which gives answers of x equals negative 6 and x equals 4. So, same thing here. What are factors of negative 30 that make negative 1? That would be negative 6 times 5, or negative 6 plus 5. So it factors as x minus 6 and x plus 5 equals 0, so that x equals 6 and x equals negative 5. On this one here, once again, we need to get it equal to 0. So we are going to add 12x to both sides. So we get x squared plus 12x equals 0. On this one, you're going to take out a GCF of x, which leaves you with x plus 12 equals 0. This time, our pieces are x equals 0, which is that first x you took out, and then x plus 12 equals 0, which solves to be x equals negative 12. So this time, let's make that look like a negative 12. X equals negative 12. So this time your answers are x equals 0 and x equals negative 12. Here's another GCF problem. So once again, you're going to subtract 10x to get it equal to 0. So 2x squared minus 10x equals 0. But this time, your GCF is 2x. So you're left with x minus 5 equals 0. So this time, you say 2x equals 0, divide by 2, and x equals 0, or x minus 5 equals 0, so that x equals 5. Here's another problem I would like for you to try on your own. Pause it, and then I will put the answers up. So on this one, you should move things around so that it becomes x squared minus 10x plus 24 equals 0. Never move your x squared term. You always want it to stay positive. So then factors of 24 that make negative 10 is x minus 6 and x minus 4. So that your answers are x equals 6 or x equals 4. So here's another one like that. Move your 21 over and then find the factors of 21 that make negative 10. If you'd like to pause the video, then I'll put the answers up. So the answers to this one, it would factor as x minus 7 and x minus 3 equals 0. So your answers would be x equals 7 or x equals 3. Here's another GCF one, very similar to this one we did over here. So try this one, pause the video, and then see if you get the right answers. On this one, the answer should be, it should factor as x and x minus 5 equals 0. So your answers are x equals 0 and x equals 5. Last one. On this one, you want to begin by moving the 6 over so that it becomes 2x squared plus 11x minus 6 equals 0. Multiply the 2 times negative 6 so it becomes x squared plus 11x minus 12 equals 0. Factors of negative 12 that make 11 would be x plus 12 and x minus 1. Then you need to divide those by 2 so that you would get x plus 6 equals 0. So x equals negative 6. And you would get 2x minus 1 equals 0. So that 2x equals 1. Divide by 2, and x would equal 1/2. Alright, final thing for this section is to write a quadratic equation with the given zeros. If 4 and negative 5 are zeros, then that means that x equals 4 and x equals negative 5. So what we do is we turn those into factors. This would have been x minus 4, so that when set equal to 0, it would make that. And this would have been x plus 5. To be a 0, when plugged in, it has to make 0. So if I plug in 4 here, 4 minus 4 would give me 0. And if I plugged in negative 5 here, negative 5 plus 5 would equal 0. To be a 0, it has to make 0. So then to write a quadratic, we say y equals, and then we FOIL these. Remember that when you FOIL, the first term is always going to be x times x, which is x squared. Your middle term is going to be the sum of these two numbers. So -4 plus 5 makes a 1x. And then your last is always these two multiplied, which is -20. So I use the idea of what are the factors of -20 that make 1. Since I was given those factors, then I go backwards and use that same idea. Or you can FOIL. This would be the quadratic equation that would give you these two answers as zeros. So try this problem, same thing. Write a quadratic equation with the given zeros of 3 and 8. Make sure you pause the video and then replay when you're ready to see the answer. So here the answers would be y equals x minus 3 and x minus 8. When you FOIL it out, it would become y equals x squared minus 11x plus 24.